not all from 0 to 10, but towards the end of that time gap, they gave me the nickname Chingy. And it was a nickname that had no racial slur attached to it. It was just, I don't know, I thought it was nice. I kind of liked it. And then I moved to Wales. I didn't know anybody. A different area, different community, different culture, whatever it is. And then something ugly started to happen. People started to call me a chink, right? Not Chingy. And one day in school, science class, I had a fight with a kid who called me a chink, and he broke his arm. And he ended up in the headmistress's office. And she said to me, I don't understand what the problem is. He called you a chink, but everyone calls you a chink. That's your nickname. So even the teacher didn't understand what was going on for me, right? Like in that moment, I had gone from feeling like I belonged in Manchester, in England, in my community, in my friendship group, in my school, in my football team, to feeling like I was defective, like I was weird, like I was different, like I wasn't white enough, like I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't safe.
What if the part of you that thinks you're a fraud is actually just trying to protect you? What if the voice whispering in your ear, you don't belong here, is the same one that drove you to drink or sabotage the trial or reject the promotion or quit before anyone could reject you? Today, we're diving deeper into imposter syndrome, how it hijacks your potential, fuels alcohol reliance, and keeps you stuck in a version of yourself that isn't even true. Let's go there. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 1000 Days Sober podcast. My name is Lee Davy. I am not an alcoholic. I refuse to be anonymous. I am someone who lives a self-led life, alcohol-free as fuck, and I spend every waking moment of that life, like right now, helping other people do the same. And I just want to start by saying to all of you who are tuning in every single day, thank you. I see you. I hear you. You matter. You matter to me. Thank you very much. One of the books I'm reading at the moment is the inspiration behind today's podcast. It's Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. And the other day when I was reading it, she was talking about imposter syndrome, and she pulled some stats and studies from the greater wide world that said that women are much more likely to suffer from imposter syndrome than men. My first thought was, yeah, of course, I get that completely. And my second thought was, fuck, I have imposter syndrome. Not just a little bit, but actually imposter syndrome is woven into the fabric of my identity. And it has been since I was 10 years old. So what happened when I was 10 years old? Well, from year 0 up to 10, I lived in England. For you American listeners out there, England is a country which is in the United Kingdom, right? And at 10 years of age, my dad decided that we had to move from England to Wales, which is another country in the United Kingdom. And my dad moved us to Wales, to this little place called Ogmore Vale. Now, I'm half Chinese, right? From the years 0 to 10, my friends called me, not all from 0 to 10, but towards the end of that time gap, they gave me the nickname Chingy, Chingy. And it was always said with affection. My friends always said it with affection. My football coach said it with affection. The parents, including my own, on the sidelines watching me, call me Chingy. They never call me Lee. They call me Chingy. And it was a nickname that had no racial slur attached to it. It was just, I don't know, I thought it was nice. I kind of liked it. And then I moved to Wales. I didn't know anybody. A different area, different community, different culture, whatever it is. And then something ugly started to happen. People started to call me a chink, right? Not Chingy. And one day in school, science class, I had a fight with a kid who called me a chink, and he broke his arm. And he ended up in the headmistress's office. And she said to me, I don't understand what the problem is. He called you a chink, but everyone calls you a chink. That's your nickname. So even the teacher didn't understand what was going on for me, right? Like in that moment, I had gone from feeling like I belonged in Manchester, in England, in my community, in my friendship group, in my school, in my football team, to feeling like I was defective, like I was weird, like I was different, like I wasn't white enough, like I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't safe. And nobody recognized that. My teachers didn't recognize that. My mum did, but she didn't really know how to handle it. I didn't know how to handle it. Who would know how to handle it, right? And fast forward to my early 20s, and I got my first management job on the railway. I was living in Bristol at the time as a supervisor. My wife was pregnant with Jude at the time. And she was like, we're going to move back to Wales. And the only promotion that I could apply for there was way above my pay grade. It was a high up managerial position for a position called an area productions manager. But I applied for it because it was my only hope, and I got it. And I was like, holy shit, what do I do now? Because the railway is a deeply hierarchical system based on age and seniority. And here I was, a little 24-year-old managing men in their 60s, right? No training, no guidance, just a pager and a responsibility to lead when people died on the track. Because I was trained to be a rail incident officer, but the training was paltry. And as an office boy, I didn't really know what to do when I was called out to be the lead figure and the central investigating officer in a fatality or a derailment or a collision. So inside, I was shitting myself. When I was on call once every 4 weeks, not only did I hate being on call, and everybody did for this reason, because I couldn't drink alcohol, but I hated it because I was afraid of being called out. I started to do everything I could in my power not to get called out. I built this whole strategy of survival around not being exposed, and I got very, very good at it. But you know what happens when you live in fear of being found out? You start living under the thumb of your past. You stop leading your life and you start managing it, micromanaging it, escaping it, and for some, including me at the time, drinking it away. And even recently, even though I don't drink, even though I try to practice every single day, my greater line awareness, shifting from parts into self-energy, even today, when I was training as a master life coach at the Elementum Coaching Institute, I wasn't selected for the advanced path. It was one of the first times in my life where an authority figure said, no, you're not good enough. I'm one of those people who grew up, and whenever I put my mind to something, I always excelled. I was always picked out as somebody for higher progression. And yet here I was, and my lords and masters were saying, nah, not for us. And all of a sudden, that imposter feeling came up. And that imposter feeling, or the imposter syndrome for me, it still shows up today when I'm coaching. It shows up before coaching calls. It shows up after coaching calls. Sometimes it shows up during coaching calls, right? Imposter syndrome can show up for me when I'm doing these podcasts, depending on what the topic of discussion is. Here's the thing. If it's showing up for me, then I know I ain't alone. And it feels like it's a very human experience for me. So I can understand what Sheryl Sandberg is saying. I really can. And knowing what I know about the world, I imagine that if you're a woman, it is even more profound, exacerbated, and shows up even more consistently. Especially if you've been told that you need a degree, or you need a certificate, or your body needs to look a certain way, or you need a louder voice, or you need to quieten your voice to be worthy of love, leadership, or living a alcohol-free life. Now, we're about to take a short break, but before I do that, I want you to take a breath, take a beat, and just notice, where in your life do you feel like a fraud? Where do you hold back? Not because you're incapable, but because you're afraid someone might discover you're just not good enough. And ask yourself this, what is the cost of believing that voice? We'll be right back after the break. If imposter syndrome has you doubting your worth, doubting your sobriety, and doubting your place in the world, if that voice in your head says you're not ready to quit drinking, or you're not the type that lives alcohol free as fuck, then Strive Foundations was built for you. This isn't just about alcohol, it's about the lies you've internalized that say you have to be someone else to be loved, respected, and successful. Strive Foundations helps you dismantle the internal system that says, not yet, not you, not good enough. And it replaces it with a new truth. You're already enough. And living a self-led life doesn't require credentials. It just requires courage. So get over to www.thestrivemethod.com/foundations and begin your rewrite. Welcome back to the 1000 Days Sober podcast. Before the break, I asked you to consider where imposter syndrome might be holding you back. So now let's talk about how to shift it. Here's what I have learned about my own imposter syndrome that I want to impart to you. It doesn't ever go away. It doesn't. I love what David Burns, the cognitive behavioral therapist, Gandalf, once said to me. He's like, rather than pushing a button so this thing disappears, how about we try to crank the volume down a little bit? What he was saying to me at the time was parts won't want to press the button for it to go away, but they wouldn't mind turning the volume down. Maybe they'll try that because it makes them feel a little safer. So, when it comes to imposter syndrome, let's kind of turn the dial down a little bit. That's what I've been doing. So when I do that, when I turn the dial down on it, it does get quieter. It gets gentler. It gets less influential. So the goal isn't to eliminate your imposter syndrome. It's just to reduce its grip. And the way that I've done that, first and foremost, is by building a daily awareness. You see, imposter syndrome is a part of your psyche that was created very young through trauma, perhaps, right? And when it shows up, it is my signal that I've slipped below the line into victim consciousness. So what do? I notice it. I pause. I talk to myself. I check into my nervous system and take a breath. I check my thoughts. What am I thinking about? I ask myself, is this real or is this bullshit? And then I use all the tricks that I have in my toolkit to rise above the line. One of the ways that I do this is I lead into the Japanese philosophies of wabi-sabi and kintsugi. I remember that I am beautifully imperfect. These are two philosophies that we cover in the Strive method. My cracks are part of my story. Fear, shame, anxiety, when I feel them, they're not signs of failure. They're signs of my humanness. See, the power is in the intervention. So when I notice that I'm spiraling, I don't let the spiral win. My breath stops it. I soften and I return to self. And over time, when you do this, what used to feel like a 10 out of 10 panic, paralysis, self-doubt moment of madness, it barely hits 3 on the Richter scale. And that's the work. It's not deleting the voice, it's disempowering it. And that's what strivers do. And that's what living alcohol-free as fuck is all about. Today's daily vow. Today, I will not drink because the voice that tells me I ain't good enough is just a part. And today, I choose to live from self. You're not a fraud, you're not broken, and you're not behind. You are a striver. Someone brave enough to confront the voice inside that says, not good enough, and say, I hear you, I see you, but today I choose something greater. As you walk around the world today, or run around the world, or float around the world, whichever you choose, reflect on these questions. Where does imposter syndrome show up for you? What would your life look like if you stopped believing that voice? Right now, your imposter syndrome might be showing up again, telling you, don't leave a review for this guy. Who are you to have an opinion? Don't click on that Strive Foundation's link. You'll fail like you always do. That voice is not self, it's a part. So do what I do. Breathe, soften, and do it anyway. Rate and review the show, not for me, but for you, because your voice matters. And subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow's episode. And if you're ready to quiet the imposter in you and lead a life from self, then go to www.thestrivemethod.com/foundations. Okay, are you ready to say the sovereign vow with me? Hand on your heart, hand on your belly. Big deep breath. Repeat after me. I am a striver who is alcohol free as fuck, and I will not drink today because that is not what I do, and that is not who I am. Until tomorrow, much love and strive on, everybody.